yi wo ayɛ wɔn nsa betia watamfo kɔn so wɔgya mma bɛkoto w'anim gyata ba ne wo Yuda hanam so ɛna wode anyini me ba ɔkotɔe obutu sɛ gyata ne gyata brɛ hwan na ɔbɛhanyan no ahempoma emfiri Yuda nsa na mmarahyɛ poma emfiri ne nan ntam de kosi sɛ ɛsodifoɔ a ɛnam aman bɛyɛ setie ama no ɛbɛba
to aso kakra
ɔsa na funumu ba ɛwɔ bobe mu na funumu bere ba ɛwɔ bobe ɛpɛ mu osi n'ataadeɛ wɔ nsa mu na ne ntoma ɛwɔ bobe aba mmogya mu obesa ɛma n'ani ayɛ kɔɔ
enti wohwɛ a nhyira Jacob o shira ne ma no Judah deɛ no is different thing na saa the tribe of Judah no enimu na Awurade Kristo Yesu efiri ya eba enti nsɛm a na Jacob ebewu a ɔka ne nyinaa no Ebenezer so we ready na ama so ate ebra Jacob bewu a no nsɛm a ɔka ne nyinaa wɔ Genesis 49 ne nyinaa ba mu pepepepe enti Judah na ɔtɔ so miɛnsa no wɔno na Jacob edi ne nhyira na kɛseɛ paa no ɛkɔɔ no hɔ na abusua no mu na nam a David mu ɛfa ya ba ya ebewie Awurade Kristo Yesu mu nso epie efiri mu ɛbaayɛ the Yesu Kristo ɛyɛ abusua a ɔno yɛ the tribe of Judah sɛ ɔmo nyɛ ready nti ɛbɛto aso kɔnim kakra yɛnkɔ verse 13 no
13 no say Sebulon tenabea bɛkyerɛ mpoano na wahwɛ adeɛ na wahwɛ deɛ ahyɛn gyinagyina na ɔne Sidon abɔ ahyeɛ
enti wohwɛ ahase a Jacob ne kasa kyerɛm no ebra Jacob ewuye no yɛkyɛ agapade a na yɛ Israel Nyankopɔn agapade a Canaan the land of Canaan Nyankopɔn de bɔ Israel for ɔde ɛhyɛ ho bɔ no Joshua ne bɛkyɛ ti wɔ bɛkyɛ in the book of Joshua Jacob ɛka to hɔ emna tenten ansa na Moses no ɛba ansa na Moses de ɛkɔyɛ ya Joshua be take over ansa na mo cross road mo free Misraim after 400 years ya mo di no Misraim Egypt no ansa na mo kɔ Canaan baby a ɔka sɛ Zebulon betra no ɛhɔ ne den tra sɛ yɛ father tribe of Zebulon no a eduru so a yɛbɛhunu saa nneɛma nyinaa enti Jacob ɛhyɛ nhyira a na ɔde sɛ ɔde ma ne ma ɛne ahintasɛm a ɛbɛsi daakye nyinaa no ɛkyerɛ ne mba ne nyinaa na obiara nso deɛ ɛbaa mu sɛ deɛ ɔka no no yɛnkɔ verse 16
verse 16 say Dan bebu ne nkurɔfoɔ atɛn na Israel musuakuo mu sɛ Israel musuakuo mu ebiara Dan bɛyɛ ɔkwan so ɔwɔ tempɔn so awuritia ɔka apɔnkɔ ne ntini na ne so tenafoɔ ahwɛ n'akyi Awurade nkwagyeɛ
first we beto aso Dan deɛ no so see describe no me pɛ sɛ obi ɛkyerɛm kakra ma yɛ wɔse wayɛ ne ho sɛ ɛkwa so ahwitia na wɔka pɔnkɔ so tefoɔ ne ntini ma de ɔte pɔnkɔ so no hye ase suba mɛ na te saa nyaatwomfoɔ enti Dan abusua no nyaatwomfoɔ wɔ mu nanso yɛyɛ a yɛbɛfa yɛde yɛn ho bɛto onya wɔpɛ sɛ ɔka bi
si abedi se wo bon si ebobo so a wayi dan dina firi mu enu wayi Ephraim dina firi mu enu wadi Joseph mani mienu na be den e be sha say because was it Dan is the like a serpent but the serpent no you say the order nanka unum say abo nanka oda hodi hunu akasa wa kama na apa kwatia na ye de hwe obeka nipa bebre ti asafu mu a da biom ko church board wɔn deɛ yɛn tu wɔn dada bi wɔn na tu nipa nanso wɔn laake deɛ wɔn yɛ very wicked people nti wɔsi such people no wɔn bɔ si ebeduru hɔ no wɔn gate ni hɔ bi no wafa mu ayɛ dɛn nti the people no wɔn ti sɛ danfoɔ no obie no hɔ bɛyɛ dɛn wɔbɛ yɛbɛ kan duru bɛɛ wɔbɛbɔ Ephraim dim wɔsi Ephraim de ɔde ne ho ama bosomsom ɛti sɛ wɔn asafo no mu no wɔn deɛ wɔn ma sɔre wɔn ho nyɛ nyame ahi na danfoɔ no wɔn na tia asafo dabi wɔn na tu nipa wɔ asafo no mu yɛ tu nipa no wɔn de kan apagye yɛn nsaba wɔn yɛ tirimɔdenfoɔ.
Na wɔn yɛ nipa bi nso a sɛ ɔyɛ adeɛ a wɔn wɔ bɔne ho nyansa paa sɛ ɔyɛ adeɛ a ɛbɛyɛ den paa sɛ wɔbɛka sɛ ɛyɛ ɔno na ɔyɛ wɔnsusu da wɔnsusu da sɛ ɛyɛ ɔno ɛna ɔyɛ tɛm biara no wɔn na ayɛ ade no na watwe ne ho agyina nkyɛn na bia obi de ne ho ɛdɛn akɔtene deɛ ahɛ sɛ nipa no nti wɔn ho ehu sɛ deɛ ɛdɛn yɛ kan na mpa amen.
Yɛda mboa ahodoɔ no ase nti yɛbɛhyɛ da pɛkin no one day mebobɔ so because of time nti mbɔ so kakra nti yɛbɛfa no maako na yɛsua nti saa yɛyɛ saa suban no bi wɔ yɛ mu no nyinaa no yɛbrɛ a yɛsua na yɛbɔ mmɔden sɛ yɛbɛtwe yɛn ho afiri mu sɛ bɛyɛ a yɛbɛnya nkwagye because sɛ yɛn nyinaa because of salvation nti na yɛbrɛ so nti sɛ wokura biribi na wantumi a mmɔden ɛnyɛ mu ansa na Kristo Yesu aba anaasɛ wafiri mu a wanhwɛ a na wasu afumu sun sɛ mebregu ba yɛhwɛ sɛ yɛ wɔ ha obiara bɛnya bregu anaasɛ obiara bɛyɛ biribi ɛte saa yɛpɛ sɛ yɛn nyinaa nya nkwagyeɛ nti yɛsɛ yɛbɔ mmɔden sɛ yɛsi ntɔ ne yɛmmerɛ yɛ ne berɛ a yɛsua kɔ yɛn anim no yɛbɛtwe yɛn ho afiri mu verse 19
ɔse God asafo pi ɛtoa no na ɔno nso atoa wɔn aka wɔn 19
okay to asoma me
asɛ aduane bɛyɛ sraduane na ɔbɛma ahennuane a ɛyɛ akɔnɔ nso ɔbɛyɛ chef
on asa deɛ no ɛno nso yɛbɛkyerɛ mu sɛ asa aduane ɛbɛyɛ sraduane na ɔbɛma ahennuane a ɛyɛ akɔnɔ sɛ ne ɛsiti aseɛ
I'm say, yeah, young people are saying that. You say a family. Name by name.
You're bare 4 minutes. It's not saying no because I'm still more venture.
And I make us say,
you can't name a boom.
Yan China, your funnel.
Okay, Eddie, you're bare 4 minutes into young kind of fast. You're about fan of Marco. You're about try with ya back, only a sunny or by any sunny almost ACT. Na, you be whom Sebaya, you're better here when free son name and whom name. Into Uncle verse 21.
Okay, as I never cover verse 21, 14 young kind, which is Isaka. Okay, you can be 3 I mean, canon, I mean, go 21. 14 or say Isaka ye a funumu hodenfo obutu obutu muadoma entem enti ye kwankyekere mu na eduru ha ye behunu asumu na hoden ne emu akontemu a ebebutu afi 21 no eye Naphtali o say Naphtali ye ofrote a wato no sraha o kan nsem dede ano de 22 o say eye Joseph eye dua a eso aba man dua a eso aba wo nsuo aniwa so enan man ene man tratra ne man tratra ofasu 23 mema tofo hye no ye a wototo no na wotaa no nanso na ne tadua ekura no pintin na ne basamu ye din efiri Jacob tumfo no ensem efiri ohwefo a oye Israel botan no emu 25 efiri wagya nyankopon emmoa efiri wagya efiri wagya nyankopɔn ɔmmoa wo na efiri twɛdi ampɔn ɛhɔ ɔnhyira wo ɔmfa ɔsorosoro nhyira ɛne ebunu a ɛteteɛ aseɛ mu nhyira ɛne nufoɔ ne yafunu mu nhyira wo wagya nhyira ɛyɛ kɛseɛ boro daadaa mmepɔ wagya nhyira ɛyɛ kɛseɛ boro daadaa mmepɔ no nhyira so a ekoduru tete ntrede nkokoɔ no ahyɛ soɔ no ho a ɛma Joseph
okay yan 27
27 Benjamin ɛyɛ patakuo a ɔtete mmoa mu odi hanam anopa na anwummerɛ nso ɔkyɛ asadeɛ emu yenum nyinaa ne Israel musuakuo 12 no na yɛn ne deɛ wɔn agya ka kyerɛ wɔn de hyira wɔn sɛdeɛ wɔn nhyira teɛ maako na ohyira wɔn Jacob wuo no enie
ya fancy hɔ a enti yɛbrɛ no aso nti mempɛ sɛ mɛba bɛm yɛbɛpeke no maako tribe biara yɛbɛpeke no maako na yɛsua na yɛhunu sɛnea wɔn mu su ne wɔn ban teɛ nti mɛsrɛ kwafoɔ no yɛsua yɛnwu a yɛmma yɛntene mu ne yɛ aka ne nyinaa no na yɛnsua by the end of this quarter ne bi a ne yɛtumi awie yɛnwie a yɛbɛsrɛ mpanimfoɔ no asa ama yɛbrɛ ne atoa so ne yɛhunu gate kora yɛbɛsi yɛnwie no wobɛhunu gate a wobɛfa mu a wobɛkɔwura heaven yɛma 5 minutes to 3 yɛm sɛ mebrɛ no aso nti monsim to ase ne yɛmmɔ mpayɛ na mememfiri ha na ɔmo ɛmɛto adwumadeɛ no sɛ yɛbɔ mpayɛ ne nyame yɛda wo ase sɛ yɛmmerɛ yɛ ne yɛsi ntotie biara wonyame wonyaa yɛn ne mmerɛ biara wohwehwɛ sɛ yɛbɛsakra yɛadwene ne aba onyankopɔn wo nkyɛn wakyerɛ yɛn heaven sɛne wasiesie hɔ ama yɛn yɛn nyinaa yɛkɔ dɔ pɛ sɛ yɛba hɔ nanso yɛduru mmerɛ bi a na wiase mu ha ne wiase mu da adwene no na yɛtwe yɛn ho afiri ho nanso yɛnim sɛ wogye ho kronkron no ahyɛ yɛbɔ enti anwumwie yɛde yɛn ho sa ahyɛ wo nsa biom ma yɛnnuru yɛ botaeɛ ho ne yɛmmra onyankopɔn nkyɛn ne yɛmmɛtena ase afebɔɔ dwumadi a aka yɛn sɛ sɛdeɛ ahyɛ wo nsa ɛberɛ a wɔbɛkyerɛkyerɛ mu yɛnya so pa ne yɛmfa ntie ntumi atena kuro yi mu na kuro yi mu mmara nso yɛtumi adi so yɛda wo ase sɛ wɔka yɛn ho na wobɛkɔ so waka yɛn ho na wɔahyira yɛn ho dan mu Awurade Yesu din mu nti amen nti megya ha ma ɛda agye bu nsu ɛne ɔmo a ɔmoto ase na bɛtoa deɛ aka no so toma yi nyinaa mfa so nti ɔ
abusuafoɔ mepakyɛ yɛgu so a yɛ ɔmo setting no sɛ biribiara bɛtom na yɛaba abɛhyɛ aseɛ mepakyɛ ɔmo bɛyɛ biribi about active shooting bɛ wɔ se after no wowɔ question biara related to that a wobɛtumi abusa but any other question biara no wobɛ sɛ wobusa ma ɔmo nso a they are willing to answer you nti question bi a wo bia no a time will come ye nyina ebenya ho na ebusa wo asem nti mo ma ye break akra bi omo fa no so nti na esa and omo be play videos in between ama ya nti kebeye say ye market one omo wo school mu no ka omo tim na etimi ba dem ha kebeye pa nti so oba wa ha na betimi abọ modern a de na betena won che ya kebewo
Hello. Check, check. Hello. Mima Munina, happy Sabbath. And they a very special day. Yeah, well, two amazing people and then omuni eba besom. Na yeah, omu go around city no the community no big companies, small companies, different churches about how to protect yourself. Any nema bibra air so e will reasi mu inti ene ya fro omo say omo bra na omo embe chre some of the nema police for chre omo community how to protect themselves ni nema bibra ebe so inti say o question bia chro to hor me ye be question and answer. At this moment, I would like to thank the both officers. I know I was speaking a different language. You're not used to me speaking a different language, but welcome to the Prince of Peace Ghanaian Seventh-day Adventist Church. We are from Ghana, and we're definitely excited to have you here today. So today, I would like to introduce two amazing officers, Officer Chad Gnag and Officer Mr. Frederick Hanna, and they will both be presenting us today with some active shooting activities, and so that we could all be aware how to protect ourselves. So let's all give a clap, and let's all clap for them to spend their Saturday with us. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I was just telling my partner, Chad, that many years ago, my girlfriend was from Ghana. And I said to her, the most beautiful woman I've ever dated. And of course, she broke up with me, but most beautiful. She was from New York and she was from Ghana, but most beautiful woman. So I walked in here today like this. A lot of beautiful women here, a lot of beautiful people. So thanks for having us. So I understand we're at a place of worship, and I am a Christian myself. Unfortunately, this is the world that we live in, that we have to talk about a difficult subject like this. Because we want to protect our community, we want to protect our people, we want to protect the places that we worship, because we are under attack. There are some bad people that will come into places of worship or business, places you work, your homes, and we have to know how to protect ourselves. And it's all about working together. So if you're already good at working together as a community in your faith, this should be easy for you, okay? This is civilian response to active shooter events. There are many different active shooter systems out there. One is called Run, Hide, Fight. Has anybody ever heard of that before? You have. One is called the ALICE system. Has anybody ever heard of that before? That's in all the schools. So Run, Hide, Fight came out from the Department of Homeland Security in 1999 after the Columbine incident that happened in Colorado. And then that gave people a response plan to active shooters, like what to do if this happens. But here's the reality of the situation, is the bad guys learned that response plan. Run, hide, fight. They knew the people were going to run, they knew the people were going to hide, and they knew they were going to fight, so they changed their tactics. They changed the way they do things. So there's one word that we consider a bad word now. Run, hide, or fight. Which one do you think it is? Nah, fight's okay. Nah, run's okay. It's got to be hide, right? Why is hide a bad word now? Because this is what happens. I've been a police officer a long time. I've seen this. When somebody comes into an area and they start shooting, what is the first thing people do? Hits the ground. You'll hit the ground. I don't know why we do that as human beings, but we do. We'll hit the ground, and then we'll stay there. And in that system, they were teaching people to hide underneath your desks, your chairs, wherever it is. And then when the bad guy came in with his gun, what does he do next? He will shoot you right where you're laying down. So in this system, we're never going to hide. We're always going to be moving. We're always going to be moving. God forbid if something happened here, where I want to find you guys is Bush Boulevard and 161. How far away is that? Half mile? Mile? Right? I want you to go far away. We've never seen active shooters follow a crowd of people down the street. They just don't do it. They do all of their damage where they want to be. in the environment. So we're never going to be hiding. Never. We're always going to be moving the best we can. My name is Officer Rick Hanna. I work at the police academy now, but I've worked every single area of this city, all the way up north here, down south, worked on a hilltop on the west side, worked far east. I've been everywhere. I was a detective for 8 years, but now I'm a community education officer and I'm a defensive tactics instructor. So I train all the recruits, I train all the officers, and I spend the majority of my time in the community doing stuff like this, which is what I love to do the most. I was just saying to my partner back there, as you guys were singing, I said, who else gets to do this every day? How lucky are we? How lucky are we to be a part of that? We absolutely love it. So thank you again for having us here. I was in the Marines in my former life, so I served in the military. I've been all over the world. So I got to see a lot of cool things. This is my partner, Officer Chad Canode. Chad's been with the police department 29 years. He used to work in the emergency management unit where they handled all of, so was there an African American walk this morning? Like some kind of big event that happened, I believe, right? Or an African walk, something like that. And then there's like Red, White, and Boom. There's Jazz and Road Fest. There's all kinds of different events. Well, him and his unit used to run all of that. Like all of the massive amount of people would show up. They would barricade everything off, make everything very safe, and make sure those events went off smoothly. So he has a lot of experience in that realm. And he works predominantly with recruit trainings. He trains all of our brand new recruits that come into the police academy. So we're going to start off with this video.
Remember these words.
Volume up a little bit.
If you hear what
Good.
sounds like gunshots, don't hesitate or wait for others to act.
And the stimulating effects of monetary policy are no longer
Get ready to take action and protect yourself.
Yep. So that's aggressive, right? We don't want to, listen, and we're not here to scare anybody, but we have to talk about this stuff, and we have to show some things to you. There's really no way around it. I have to show it. The worst thing I'm going to show today is about PG-13. It's not that bad. But this is a difficult subject to talk about. Do we all agree? Very difficult. But if we don't talk about it, we won't be prepared. So we have to. And we have to share that with our young people so they know what to do. And you will lead them. But then we also want to make sure they know what to do if they're alone. We have to have a plan. We're going to give you one today, and we're going to set you guys up so you can do drills, so you can do this once in a while, and you can practice. So if anybody does come into this environment or anywhere else you're at, you'll know what to do. I don't want you guys hiding underneath a chair. I don't want you just running around in a panic. We're going to have a plan, and that way we all survive. Does that make sense? All right. In our system, like I mentioned, run, hide, fight, we use this: avoid, deny, defend. Many times people come to our classes and they take notes. They write everything down. And I tell them, you don't need to take notes. I just want you to remember this slide right here. I tell people to take their cell phones out and take a picture of it like that gentleman is doing right there. That is all you need to remember today in this class. Because any question that you're going to ask me, you're going to say, what if this happens? Or what if this happens? Or what if that happens? I'm going to say you're either going to avoid, deny, or defend. That's it. And we have to make it that easy so you remember it. You have 3 options when a gunman comes into your room. This is a little bit what we're going to go over here today. It's going to be we're going to go for about an hour and a half. If you need to take a break at any time, go use the restroom or whatever it is, just get up and go. You're not going to offend me. Okay, I'm going to talk for about an hour and a half. I'm going to teach you guys a system of avoid, deny, defend, the 3 components of it. I'm going to go over some active shooter events that's happened around the world because we learned from those events. We learned how some people responded really well and some people did not. We're never picking on people, but we're just showing you here's what worked here and here's what didn't work here. And then you'll learn from it. Chad's going to jump in, and then he's going to go over the human response to disaster. And all that is you being really stressed out in a very stressful situation. Let me ask you guys, has anybody here ever been in a car accident? Lots of hands. That's stressful. Okay? You might have been through worse things in your life, and it's not my business to ask, but I'm sure you've been through worse. And you're here today because you calmed yourself down and got through that situation. This is no different. We're going to get even better. Chad's going to give you some tips on how to improve during a stressful event. Then we're going to go over some case studies. These case studies we get from the FBI. So like when an event happens, like the Parkland shooting in Florida, it went through the courts. He got sentenced to life in prison. They share the entire investigation with us. We take everything out of that and we develop training off of that. That's how we pick up new trends. What are the active shooters doing in 2023 versus what they did 10 years ago? We give you guys all the answers to those questions so we can prepare and we can get even better with our response. So, I'm not going to stand up here with this microphone and be the only one talking, because I heard you guys singing. You got voices. You have beautiful voices. So we're going to interact with each other. I'm not here to talk at you. I'm here to talk to you. There's a difference. So we're all sitting here in this place of worship now. And I can hear from down the hallway over there, I can hear what sounds like gunfire. And I know it's gunfire. It's not fireworks. It's not construction noise. It's gunfire. And we're all sitting here. What would you do at that very moment? Anybody? Where would you go? There's a hand up over there.
It's gonna be depending on where I sit. So let's say if I'm sitting right here, I could take this exit, or I can take this exit. Or if I'm sitting back here, I can take that exit. Or if I'm sitting down there, I can take that exit or that exit. But for me, I'm definitely going to run if I hear like any gunshots or anything like that.
Would you agree that you would run in the opposite direction of the gunfire?
Yes.
So the gunfire is coming from there. You're seating over there. You're going out that door.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It's that easy. This is not a hard class. It's just really like the ability to calm yourself down and make the right decision. And why she did so well in that response and to that answer is because she pointed out 3 different exits in this room that she knows about. And she's right. It's all in relation to where you are and where the shooter is. Let me change it up for you a little bit, though. Let's just say there's only one way in and out of here. Let's say it's that door there. There's no exit there. There's no exit there. There's just that door. Okay, that's all we got, right? So we hear gunfire, and I pop my head out that door, and I see that that gunman is right outside in the hallway. What do I do now?
Okay, you said, wait, bye. Okay, you said that exit right here?
Yep, that one right there. That's all we got.
Okay, then I can just go through the window. Just break the window, go through it.
All right. Let's say there's no window.
So like we have rooms hidden here. Like we have the closet room here. We have this room here, and then we also have one over there. So I just hide in one of the rooms and like and locked it.
Remember, I said we're not hiding anymore, right?
Okay. So I think in this case we're going to attack, if that's the only.
He's not in the room yet.
Okay, so
He's outside the room.
outside. So we're just gonna be quiet.
How about we do this? Listen, think about it. Avoid, deny, defend. What does deny mean? I'm not going to let him in. Can I lock that door? Can I take all these tables and chairs and put it up against that door?
Yes.
Can I slow him down from getting into this room?
Yes.
That's what we're going to do. That's denying. Now, I'll give you one exit. Hold on. I'll give you one exit. I'll give you that one. He's outside that door. We've barricaded that door. And we all agreed now we're going to run out that door. But that's what I want you to do first. The problem is people just run. What I want you to do is lock him out and barricade him, then run. That slows him down. I don't want him close to you. We're always looking for a way out, but I'm going to slow him down first. So the first thing I said was, we hear gunfire all the way down the hall, we're all going to leave. We agreed on that. The second thing I said was, he's right outside that door, so we're going to barricade him, and then we're going to leave. We're going to continue to do it, but I want to slow him down first. Let me change it up for you guys again. Let's say we're all in this room right now, and somebody, the shooter is me, and I'm sitting right here. And then I stand up with my gun. What do you do now?
You calm down.
I just stood up, and I got a gun in my hand, and I am amongst you. What do I do now?
The best idea would be to grab a chair and hit the person.
Young people are often way smarter than us adults, aren't they? He said, I'm grabbing a chair, I'm knocking you upside the head with it.
That's where the attack.
Yes. Yes. Now, it is different from everybody, so I'm going to go back to that young lady, what she said over there. Is she going to attack from all the way over there? No, what's she doing? She's going to that exit. What are you guys doing all the way over here? You're going to that exit. What are you guys doing right here? You see how it changes? Okay, so it changes in relation to where you are next to the shooter. So Chad and I run the active shooter program for the Columbus Police. We train all the officers on how they respond. And we tell them all the time, you have a vote, the shooter has a vote, and the environment that you're in has a vote. It constantly changes. Now, and those are all really good responses. You guys are already my favorite group I've taught this year. Fantastic. Avoid, deny, defend. That is our system. We're going to go through all three. Now, we all agree that we hear gunfire from far away. We're going to go the opposite direction. We're going to run. We're going to get out. We're going to get away, right? We agree. But it's not just a physical action. It is a mindset. Who can tell me what your mindset should be at that time? What are you thinking? Anybody? She said, call 911. All right, little man. All right, here we go. I'll solve it for you. Who here, where's my mom's and where's my mother's? Raise your hand. Who has children here? Any grandmothers? Grandfathers? Who's got sons, daughters? We have family in here, right? That's where your mind goes. I hear that gunfire going off and I'm thinking, I'm going to live, I'm going to survive for them. So as a police officer, many times we would get sent, like every day, I would get sent to a person with a gun doing something bad. And we would the dispatcher would tell us to go to this location, but we never went straight into that location. We always met somewhere first. All right, so we met up, made sure we had all of our equipment, we made sure we had enough people, we got a little bit of a game plan going, and then we would go in. But during that meeting, which took about 30 seconds, I would take my hat off the back of my headrest, and inside my police hat is a picture of my wife and my 2 kids when they were babies. I never took that picture out because I would stare at it while we were having this meeting. What am I telling myself at that moment? I'm going home tonight. I'm going home to them. That's my mindset. But it always made me calm. And I'm a Christian as well, so the power of prayer made me calm. Very calm. Sometimes I would say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, Lord in heaven, that I would go through it. And it calmed me. And then I would focus and I would make good decisions when I got there. So utilize that. That's mindset. Avoid bad people, bad places, bad times. Has anybody here ever been somewhere where a fight broke out? Okay? Fights. Many times when you could see the fight happening. Like I see a bunch of people back there and they start yelling and screaming at each other and it looks like they're about to have a fight. What does everybody in the room do when that happens? Records it. So everybody grabs their phone and they go over there and they start to record this fight. Now in 2023, how's the fight usually go down? Somebody pulls a gun out. And now you're standing there recording it when you didn't have to be. It's no different with an active shooter. If I look out into the parking lot and I see a guy has a rifle in his hand and he's coming towards that building, I am responding immediately. I'm locking the doors down and I'm getting everybody far, far away from that. But I'm not going to stand there and stare at it and not do anything or record it. I got to see it when it happens so I can respond a lot faster. If I say you should have good situational awareness, what do I mean by that? What is situational awareness? You put your hand up. You know what it is? Yes, he said know your surroundings, right? But let me ask you this, right? Do you think as a society, no matter what country we're in, are we good at that as a society? Why not? He says no. Too many distractions, I heard somebody say it. What are we distracted with? Cell phones. We're terrible at situational awareness, but can we get better? Yes. Are we going to get better by the end of today? Yes, you will, I promise you. This is a bar in Brazil. This is going to get robbed. This is going to be an armed robbery. This is real. Nobody's going to get hurt. Nobody's going to get hurt. Bad guy's going to jump off his motorcycle. He's going to keep his helmet on to conceal his identity. He's going to walk into the bar with a gun. He's going to tell everybody to get on the ground. They're going to do it. He's going to walk behind the bar. He's going to take all the money out of the cash register, and then he's going to leave. He's in and out in 20 seconds. But that's not what I want you to watch. What I want you to watch is the guy with the blue shirt playing on his phone during the robbery. So here comes the bad guy. Everybody gets on the ground, playing on his phone. Gets behind the bar. He's going to get the money, playing on his phone. He's going to leave, playing on his phone. Then what's he going to do? Now he gets on the ground. It's already over. So let me ask you guys, who thinks they know the answer to this? Why do you think he got on the ground after it was already over? Because he didn't know his surroundings, right? That's a good answer. Anybody else? Why did he get on the ground when it was already over? Because everybody else was on the ground. That's it. These answers are simple. We are a herd mentality as human beings. If for whatever reason, everybody here got up and screaming and yelling, ran out the door, you guys would follow. And you wouldn't even know why. You wouldn't even know why. So sometimes following the herd is a good thing, and sometimes following the herd is a bad thing. Let me ask you guys your opinion, especially the adults in the room. All the people in that video that were laid on the ground, did they have an opportunity to leave at any time? Yes. Does anybody say no? You don't think so? Maybe. She's honest. Could they still get shot? Right. They still could. And it was a very small area, right? Look. The shooter is right here. I'm the shooter. And as soon as I walk by this gentleman right here, you should be leaving. Like, you got to go. We're not laying on the ground. We're going to make it very hard for him. If you're going to try to shoot me, you're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to earn it. I'm going to get up and run as fast as I can. And I'm going to make it very hard for him. That's what we're here to do. You're going to be scared. You're going to be terrified. And you may hit the ground. But I want you to get up off that ground and get moving. I want you to make it very difficult. How many traffic lights did it take me to get these pictures of people playing on their phones? So 4, 1, 2. It was on Bryce Road on the east side back in April. My boss sent me out and said, go find pictures of people playing on their phone, and then you're done for the day. I was done in 5 minutes. I got paid for 8 hours. All right? 2 traffic lights. These are people that are at the stoplight. Okay? So they're not texting and driving, right? They're at the stoplight. Now, we're all Christians in here, right? So no lying. I'm a Catholic, so if we lie, then we go to confession on Saturday at 4 o'clock. So I'm there every Saturday at 4 o'clock. Who does this? The other police officer in the room has his hand up. So you're probably thinking, like, it's okay, I'm not moving, right? I'm stopped, so I can get that text in real quick. It's not a big deal. I'm not bothering anybody, but are you really paying attention? No, you're not. So here's why. Because this is traffic, and you're just not paying attention. You're just not. You're not looking ahead. My daughter says it all the time. When it's red, I stop, and when it's green, I go. I just follow the people in front of me. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, Dad, right? Nope. Are you really paying attention? We do this with our kids. I did this with mine. Does that make me a bad parent? Better not say no. Or say yes. When I was a young person, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have technology like we have today. I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up in like the New York City area. Okay, so we played outside every day. And I couldn't come back into the house until it was 5 o'clock. Like, that's what we did. But nowadays we have technology in our kids' hands 24/7. Okay, and it is what it is. That's the world. But are we paying attention? If I say you should have good exit awareness, what do I mean by that? She already did it, knowing your exits. Do we know our exits everywhere we go? No, we don't. No, you don't. You know it here because you come here all the time. You know it at your house. You know it where you work, but you don't know it everywhere you go. You will always remember the door you walked into. So from today, moving forward, I just want you to remember one more exit. Just one more everywhere you go. We call it +1. I walked in that door over there, and as I was walking in, and he took me to Harrison took me to our final spot right here, and as soon as I walked in with Chad, I went 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. It was that quick. Because I got to think, what if this place caught on fire and I had to get out? What if the sprinklers kicked on? What if the power went out? What if I had to get out here quickly with my friends and family? How would I go about doing that? So everywhere you go, I want you to do that. Just find one more. And it's a good habit to be in. Now, we talked about denying. We talked about barricading that door. This is not hiding. Remember, that is the bad word. I'll create that physical barrier, but then I'm going to keep it moving. Especially with schools. If you guys have Bible study here, or you have youth study here, and you may utilize some of the other rooms, okay? And it's hard to move kids. It's difficult to move a lot of kids at once. You may go into a lockdown. Shut the door, lock it, barricade it, turn the lights off, and get on the same side wall as the door. So if he were to look in, it would appear that nobody was there. We have researched 500 active shooter events in the last 21 years. How many of those did the active shooter kick the door in? Anybody want to take a guess? 0. 0. They don't kick in doors. Why is that? It takes too much time. Okay, these events happen quickly, probably less than 10 minutes. And if the door is locked and it's barricaded, they're not going to mess with it. They're just going to go somewhere else and find some easier targets. They're going to find people laying down on the ground. That's what they're looking for. They're not going to waste a bunch of time because they know everybody called 911. And they know that you guys may attack them back. So they're very much on the clock. So barricading absolutely works. Covering concealment, especially if you're outside. When we pulled up, there was a lot of people outside. It's a beautiful day out. We're going to be outside. But What if we're all outside and a couple of knuckleheads down the street start having a gunfight and the bullets are going around us? Where would you go? Okay, you just got to get behind something that stops bullets. Get behind cars, buildings, big trees, not hiding in the bushes in the front like this. Like that's concealment. That's going to break up your physical profile, but get behind something that stops bullets. Barricade access points, we talked about that. Consider secondary exits, we talked about that. Now we get to this point. Remember I said I was the guy? I was a shooter and I was sitting right here and I got up. And I'm standing amongst you. And we decided some people can leave there, some people can leave there, but some of you guys are going to be in attack mode. Some of you guys are going to have to defend yourselves. Now, according to the law here in Ohio, you have the right to defend yourself. It's called the Stand Your Ground law. That means if you have to cause serious physical harm or death to that person, you are allowed to do it. You are allowed to defend yourself. You're not celebrating over there. I don't want to do that, but if I have to do that, you're covered. You're not going to go to jail. You're not going to be prosecuted. You're going to be okay. You are allowed to defend yourself. Do not fight fairly. What does that mean? I'm hearing a lot of responses. Good. Look, this is not a boxing match where it's 15 rounds and there's 3 judges and a referee. Like, this is real, okay? He brought a gun in here and he wants to cause a lot of carnage in here. He wants to cause a lot of damage. I'm not going to fight fairly. Weapons of opportunity, what does that mean? Chairs. Show me something that you can use right now in a fight. Hold it up and show me. He pointed at that camera. You got a cell phone in your hand. I would pick up chairs, that mic stand, all this equipment here. There's lots of things that I can use. He brought a gun in. I'm going to bring my own weapons to the party as well. Speed, surprise, and violence of action. If I know he's coming through these doors, you see the little windows on these doors? If I know he's coming through these doors, should I wait for him here? Where should I wait for him at? I'm going to be right here on the side of the door. I'm going to rush him from the side. If I know he's coming here, I'm going to be here on the side. And when he comes through, that is speed, surprise. I surprise him. And violence of action. This is the most important part right here, especially as a community like yours. We're not going to let one guy fight for us. We are all going to fight. He picked the wrong place to come to, right? Yeah, be proud of that. Be proud of that. We will swarm the suspect. Listen, if I say this to a lot of groups, if you get close to me, you see I have scars on my face and my ears are all messed up. Where do you think I got all that from? From fighting. I've been training in mixed martial arts for 20 years. I'm from New Jersey. That makes me the toughest guy in this room right now, I'm pretty sure. But do you think I could beat everybody up in this room at the same time? Why not? There's too many of you. There's just too many. Just body weight alone, you're going to pin me down to the ground. And if I have a gun in my hand, some person gets their hands on that gun and they pin it to the floor. And you hold on to that. And then everybody else does a pig pile and pins me down to the ground. You will win. Flight 93 attacks, the citizens on the plane did that. I'm going to show you something that happened here in Columbus, Ohio, right down the street where the citizens of a restaurant overwhelmed the attacker and they all survived. Now, I don't want you walking out of here saying, well, we avoid first, then we deny, then we defend. That's not what I said. It's what she said in the very beginning. It depends on where you're at. The attack starts, I'm going to start heading to the exits. What intersection did I tell you I want you guys to go to? Bush Boulevard, 161. Right, you're putting that in your head. Like, I'm getting about a half a mile out of here. So I start heading to the exits. If I'm out, I'm out. Good. If I can't get out and I decide I got to barricade that door to slow him down, then I will. But then I'm going to continue looking for exits. If I get cornered and I got to defend myself, then that's my last option. But we're always going to keep it moving. So what's next? Somebody's going to call 911, or is everybody going to call 911? How many cell phones I got in this room right now? Hold them up. How many cell phones? Everybody calls 911. You hit 911, then hit send, and then put it on speaker. I don't want you doing this or this with that phone. You put it on speaker, and then you're talking to a 911 dispatcher, and you're going to work together there. But everybody's going to see things differently, especially if you're spread out throughout the building. One person will saw the car that the bad guy pulled up in. Another person will see that there was 2 attackers. Another person will have a closing description and the amount of weapons they had. Another person will tell the dispatcher the last known location. We want constant information sharing during this. Who here knows first aid? Hey, next time I come back here, every one of these hands has got to be up. Every one of these hands has got to be up. Are there first aid kits in this building? Where are they at? Okay, they should be spread out throughout the building. If I were to take the first aid kit out right now and open it up, does everybody in the room know how to use everything that's in it? Yeah, my man's honest. He goes. Can we change that? Yeah. You got to practice it. You got to practice it. You got to do it. You got to do it and do it and do it. Stop the bleed training is the most important part. Applying tourniquets, pressure dressings. You will save each other's lives in an event like this. Now, pay attention to this one. Follow directions when we show up. Who are my church leaders here today? Like right? We have several that have, right? In my church, we call it parish council, right? Some of our ushers and like our deacons and like they help us spread the word even more. When the police come into an environment like this, we're going to tell you, everybody stand up, put your hands up in the air in a single file line. I want you to walk out that door. We need you to do that. We need you to get the young ones lined up and do exactly what we tell you to do, because we want to clear this building out as fast as possible. Now, I'm going to show you some active shooter events that's happened around the world. That is the FBI's definition of an active shooter. Mine is easier to remember. An active shooter wants to kill as many people in the shortest amount of time as possible. It's all based on speed. We agreed on that. It's not just shooters, though. The bad guys will use different weapons. That is Mumbai, India in 2008. A Pakistani terrorist group came over to Mumbai, crossed the river, and they lit 5 buildings on that city block on fire, and they gunned everybody down in the street. Fire was the method of their madness. That is the Boston Marathon. What was used there? Bombs, pressure cooker bombs. Where there's one, there's 2. There was 2 bombs used there. That is Columbus, Ohio. In 2016, that's a Nazareth restaurant machete attack incident. Does anybody remember that? Who said yeah? You remember? Okay. So this guy walks into this restaurant. He gets greeted by the hostess, and she says, "Can I help you, sir?" And he just stares at her for like 30 seconds and says nothing. And then finally he says to her, "Where are you from?" And she said, "I'm from Israel." And he said, "Okay, I'll be right back." And he leaves. And he comes back 30 minutes later with a machete in one hand and a butcher knife in the other, and he starts chasing her around the restaurant trying to kill her because she's Jewish. There are people in this world that will hate you just because of the color of your skin, your religion, where you're from. It is very important to be aware of that. And that's exactly what happened here. So he comes back and he's got a machete and a butcher knife, and he starts chasing around the restaurant. Now, the people in the restaurant got 2 choices. 1, take care of yourself. Get your family and get out of there. 2, let's go help that woman. They chose 2. And they got tables, chairs, forks, knives, and anything they get their hands on. And they beat that guy all the way out the door. Yeah. Yeah. Then they shut the door, locked it, barricaded it, cut the lights off, put everybody in the kitchen, and called 911. And then Columbus police got that guy 5 minutes later down the road. So what mode are they in right there? Avoid, deny, or defend. They were in defend. See how it doesn't happen in that order? It can happen in any order. That is Nice, France, 2016, on July 14th. That is what's called their Bastille Day. That is their 4th of July. That is their Independence Day. Those are 86 dead bodies in the street. What was used there? Somebody say car? Yep, it's that truck in the background. Max speed was 35 miles per hour. We are seeing this more and more, where terrorists are using vehicles to drive through crowds. Our police department is highly trained on how to defend this. We do a very good job at it, but we're seeing this more and more. Now, trivia time. In the last 21-year period right here, how many active aggressor events do you think we've had in our country? He said 200,000. It ain't that bad, man. Now, when I say active aggressor, I'm saying active like some mass casualty attacks, like not domestic violence, not two knuckleheads shooting in the parking lot, like somebody that is attacking large groups of people, okay? It's what the FBI classifies as an active aggressor event. So how many do you think we've had? 464. Now you can see Columbus, Ohio is pretty well represented there, huh? Yep. We're the 14th largest city in the country now. A lot of them down in Florida, a lot of them down in California, the whole East Coast. How come nothing's happening in Montana up here? Yeah. How come nothing's going on up here? Because there ain't no people there. That's it. There's not a lot of people there. The active shooters like to go to where the people are at, populated areas. It's about population density. That's why you can see the East Coast, which is the most populous place in our country. Okay, there's a lot there, a lot in California. But it could happen anywhere. Okay, but most of the time it's where the cities are at. So where do you think most of this stuff happens at? Does it happen at schools, commerce, outdoor, or other? Other would be like churches or military bases. I heard schools, schools, schools. Are we going with schools? We're going with schools. Anybody got something different? I heard other and outdoors. It's commerce. What's commerce? It's where people work. It's the workplace. Okay, so half of the time this happens at the workplace. Why do you think most people think it's schools? Because that's what the media tells you. And that's what social media tells you. And they sell advertisement and commercials, and they will get a lot of attention. The last big school shooting we happened was in Nashville, Tennessee, at the beginning of the summer. And that was on the news all day, every day, for a week. And I guarantee you, half the people here who live in Columbus never heard of the Nazareth restaurant incident because it didn't get any media attention. So the media kind of drives that. So people think it's just a school problem, and it's not. It's an everywhere problem. It can happen anywhere. But most of the time, or half the time, it's where people work. Sometimes people know who the shooter is, and some people don't. A lot of people say, it's always like a former employee. Not always. Sometimes it's just some random guy. It could be either or. How about this? How fast do you think it takes the police to arrive to an active shooter event? How much? 5 minutes? 10? 10 minutes? 10 minutes is the fire department. They got to like stop playing their volleyball game and turn all the grills off and get dressed. They got to slide down the pole. It takes them a while. It's 3 minutes, guys. But lucky for you guys here in Central Ohio, it's 2 minutes. We're very fast. We are the best in the nation at active shooter response. The best. We do the training. We run the training. We were trained by the Israelis. The Israelis trained us, and then we learned the system, and we got really good at it, and we train a lot of different agencies from around the country. So here we are. I just told you that we'll be there in 2 minutes, and we're like the Navy SEALs. We're so good, we ain't got nothing to worry about, right? Here lies the problem. 55% of the time it's over before the cops show up. That's the most telling stat you will see today. So when we train our officers, we train them when it's very active. We'll do a scenario, and we're like, it's still going on. Go in there and shut it down. And then we'll train it where it's already over, because it's 55% of the time. That by the time, with the 2-minute response time that it takes for the officers to get here from the first 911 call, half the time it's already over. So it's up to you. You see this picture I put up here of an empty hallway? That's what I want to see. That means everybody either got out or you barricaded in a room somewhere. But nobody's just hiding somewhere. Nobody's just laying on the ground playing dead. I want constant movement. It is up to you. You remove yourself as a target. Now, who thinks they could tell me what the attacker looks like in our country? And some people tell me it's a guy with a green hoodie and he's left-handed. What does he look like? Is it a male or a female? Is he black, white, Hispanic, or Asian? How old is he? 20. 20. So we've all agreed over here we got male, white, about 20 years old. So it's usually from about 18 to 40 is their age. So 95% of the time, that is correct. All right? Male, white, ages of 18 to 40. But then there's that 5% that's out there. What do they look like? They look like anybody. It could be anybody. We don't use a profile. I don't just go driving around looking for 2 white boys in a trench coat. It could be anybody. Anybody could be the attacker. We don't base anything off of characteristics. We base it off of their observable behavior, how they're acting, specifically how they act before the event happens. I'm going to give you guys an extreme example. Does anybody here remember the Virginia Tech shootings that happened about 10 years ago? Chad's going to go over that. It's at Virginia Tech University. So the Virginia Tech shooter was a student there at the university. And he planned the shooting for months and months and months. So about 2 weeks before he did the shooting, he went to a gun range. He bought guns and he went to the gun range, which is where people go to practice target shooting. Has anybody here ever been to a gun range? Okay, I have many times. And usually when I go, I buy 2 targets so I can practice. And then I'm done for the day. Well, the Virginia Tech shooter walks in and he buys 20 targets. And then he took all the targets and he put them all on the ground. And then he took his guns out and he shot all the targets on the ground. What was he doing? He was practicing. Yep. Let me ask you guys this. If you saw something like that, could you call the police for that? Yes. You can. Is it illegal to do what he was doing? No. So why would you call the police? Because it's observable behavior. It's very suspicious behavior. Could it be that that person's in mental crisis? Yes. We can help them with that. Half of what we do is that as police officers, that we get the resources to the people in the community, not arrest people. That is the least thing that we do, the far least thing we do. But we need to help people to see if they're going through it. So we will go and pay that guy a visit. And that one phone call that you made may shut down that event. We want you to call us. So this is the playbook for active shooters. They all have the same thing. They have a grievance. I'll make one up. I was late to work 15 times in the last month and they fired me. And now I'm mad. I can't believe they're so strict. I was only late 15 times. They fired me. My ideation is my thought process. How am I going to handle this grievance? I'm going to handle my grievance with violence. Has anybody in this room, now we're all Christians, now has anybody in this room ever had a violent thought go into their heads? It's like every day for me. Okay, because we're human beings. It's going to happen. Now, it doesn't mean that it stays there. Like me on my way to work every day. I live on the east side and I drive all the way to the west side and I go through the downtown split. Somebody always cuts me off. I pull up alongside them. I roll my window down. I speak a little New Jersey language to them and I'm mad. And then I calm down and say, man, just go to work, and I leave. See how it left my brain? For the active shooter, it does not. They hold on to their grievance and they have violent thoughts the entire time. They go into a research and planning mode. They start to prepare for the event, and they do this in front of everybody. But are you paying attention? The Uvalde shooter went in and out of that building multiple times before he did the attack. And nobody said a word. Nobody thought it was suspicious. It is suspicious. They will test the breach, which means they test the security. Do you know, does everybody know, like my church is in Pickerington, Ohio. St. Elizabeth is where I go to. And I sit up in the front row because I want to get as much Jesus as I can. And sometimes I get some holy water that splashes on me. Front row. Always. I never sit in the back. I'm right here. But I know everybody at my 5 o'clock mass on Sunday. I know everybody that's there because I've been going there for 25 years. But when a new person walks in, it draws my attention. I go, there's a new person here. I don't think it's bad. It draws my attention. Like I'm aware of the situation. And sometimes I see, there's been times where people were walking around our church and I know they're not here for church. Like I'm like, what are they doing walking around here? Do they belong here? Can you confront them and say, can I help you? Are you here for worship? Yes. Who are you here to see? Can I escort you where you need to go? We need to challenge people. Don't be afraid to offend people. It's for security reasons that we do it. I'm always aware of who is around me, and then they do the attack. Now, when it comes to the attacker, this is how their brain works. They're very, very deliberate in what they do. They're very focused. They are detached from reality, and they are ready to die. And I put that up there for a reason because they're the ones that say it. They're the ones that get on social media and say, I'm going to kill myself today, or I'm going to die today, or I'm going to do something bad. Are you paying attention? The Nashville shooter sent it out for several days before she did the event. I'm going to die today. And here's the question. If you face somebody like this with this mindset, can you reason with them? Can you reason with them? You cannot. What is the only slide I need you to remember? What did it say? Avoid, deny, defend. That's it. I'm not going to try to negotiate with them. I'm not going to try to build a rapport with them. I'm not going to try to do de-escalation techniques. I'm either running out of the building, barricading myself away from them, or we're fighting. But I am not trying to reason with somebody with an AK-47 in their hand cracking off rounds in the middle of this room. We're not doing that. Does everybody agree on that? Good. If you don't believe me, here's some examples. That is the Charleston, South Carolina shooter from a couple of years ago. Does anybody remember that? What was his grievance with the world? Who did he hate? He hated black people. He hated people of color. So he decided to go to an all-black church in Charleston, South Carolina. He was going to kill as many people as he could. So he goes into this church. And he sits down. When he walks in, they were having Bible study. And they invite him to sit down and pray with them. And he told the investigators later on that day that he almost changed his mind. It is the power of our faith. The Holy Spirit was present. He almost changed his mind, but then he didn't, and he killed 9 of them. He put this on social media for months. Rebel flag, 50 caliber Desert Eagle handgun, pushing daisies at his feet, and every post said, I hate black people and I want to kill them. And nobody told the police about it. Could this have been prevented? Can you call the police if you saw something like that on Facebook? Yes. Yes. We want you to call us. We will go pay him a visit. He better pray it's not me and Chad that show up at his front door. It's going to be all bad. That's a Parkland shooter from Florida. His posts talked about how he wanted to form his own ISIS cell in Florida. 1 year earlier, he was a high school student on the soccer team. How do you go from being a normal kid to posting all this stuff all over the internet? See how the behavior changes? When we see that, we got to address that. I'm going to pass you guys over to Chad, and he's going to talk about disaster response.
How good was Officer Rick? Huh? All right. So, disaster response, what is that? Disaster response is how human beings react to disasters. Not just active shooter, but every disaster. Tornadoes, floods, fires. Everybody in this room, including Officer Rick and I, act the same way, because that's how the human brain works, okay? So this is Amanda Ripley, and she is an investigative reporter for the New York Times. And she started wondering, why do humans react the way they do? Specifically, she started wondering during 9/11. Everybody remember 9/11? Yeah. When those towers were collapsing, she was trying to figure out, why did people on the 40th floor live, but people on the 4th floor died? And so she came up with these 3 stages of disaster response. It's denial, deliberation, decisive moment. And every single human being in the world goes through these 3 stages, even the police and even firefighters. The difference is we just go through it faster than you do because we train more than you do, okay? So the first one's denial, and part of denial is a thing called normalcy bias. How many people in here know what a Rolodex is? I'll give you an example. Everybody in here has a phone. You have a contact list, right? Well, back in the day before phones, when I was around, because I'm old, they had a little thing on your desk, and it rolled around like this. There she is, right there. Remember that? With contact cards in it, right? Well, guess what? Your brain has a Rolodex in it. And every minute from when you were born to when you die, you put cards in there. And it's what you see, taste, touch, hear, okay? And that Rolodex fills up. And then what happens when your brain hears a sound like a gunshot outside? What do you think the card is that you reach into to see what that sound is? What do you think you listen for? If there was gunshots going outside right now, what do you think your brain would think that is? Fireworks? Fireworks, right? That's what normalcy bias is. Because nobody wants to sit around here and think that someone's outside their church or their home or where they're having fun shooting a gun and going after people, right? So we reach into that Rolodex to find that card to make your life more normal. That's what normalcy bias is. The problem with normalcy bias is it causes peer pressure. Not peer pressure like pushing someone down on the playground. The peer pressure is like this. During Columbine High School, when they had their shooting there, the majority of their shooting happened in the library. And in the library, a lot of those kids, when the shooting started occurring, dove underneath the tables and the desks and hid there. Remember we said hiding is a bad word? Right? They hid underneath those desks. After this was all done, they interviewed some of the survivors. And one of the surviving students said that he wanted to get up and run and leave the library. But when he looked back, he saw all of his friends back underneath that table, so he climbed back under there with them. So that creates that poor risk assessment because he needed to get up and leave along with all the others, okay? The next is deliberation. That's where we decide what we're going to do. So we use this stress response chart or heart rate chart, and we use traffic to explain it because everybody in here that's an adult, right, drives, okay? Does everybody pretty much from home drive here to church from the same way, right? We all drive the same roads from whatever our house is at or wherever our apartment at. So do we. It's called highway hypnosis, right? We're real stress-free there because we know where everything is. We know where our exits are. We know what stoplights we're going to stop at. That's called highway hypnosis, about 60 beats per minute, okay? But as we're driving here, we look up and we see brake lights up in front of us. And so now our brain starts to try and figure out why are those brake lights up there and what are we going to do? So maybe our heart rate spikes up to about 90 beats per minute, right? Getting a little more excited because we don't necessarily know what's going on in front of us. Next thing you know, we're on top of those lights. We have to slam on our brakes because they came on us a little faster than we thought they would. And our heart rate shoots up to 120. And we're going somewhere with this. We can still function there. We're still okay. But now maybe we start to tunnel vision down a little bit and really we're just focusing on those brake lights and we're not really seeing what's surrounding us, okay? Now our brain is starting to focus on one thing. Next thing you know, that's Rick when that guy cut him off right there. And then the next thing you know, we're in the black. Does anybody know what going to the black is? Anybody ever heard of that? What going to the black is, I call it consciously unconscious. What does that mean? That means that If we're in the black sitting right here, you're going to focus down on me, and I'm going to be the only person you see. And you're not going to hear anybody around you. You're not going to hear these kids laughing or talking back here, right? And we're going to start to lose fine motor skills. The problem with that is now our brain's only focusing on a little bit, and we're not seeing our surroundings, and we're not able to move or function or get out of a bad situation, okay? And we have to stay out of that. So, this is a church in Texas, and I've lived in Dallas, Texas for 3 years, and it's pretty hot down in Texas, right? Christmas time even, it's hot. So you can see this is December 29th. So on this day, there's an active shooter in here, and he's this gentleman right here. He's right there in the middle with that pointed hat on. And on this day, he comes into the church, and he looks strange. And they all know him because he's a homeless gentleman that lives around the church, and they've worshiped with him, and they've fed him, and they've clothed him, and so they know who he is. But on this day, he looks a little bit different because it's in Texas and it's warm, but he has on BDU pants, much like I'm wearing. He has a big, big sweatshirt on, big wool overcoat. He has a wig, a fake beard, and a toboggan hat. Wow. Is that weird if it's hot out? Yeah, they think it is too. That's why the three gentlemen standing up against the wall back there, that's church security. Unfortunately, in today's day and age, we see that a lot more, right? We have to have church security in there, or someone that's willing to be that church security. And they're watching him. Well, on this day, when I play this video for you, he's going to get up, he's going to ask that gentleman behind him where the bathroom is, then he's going to pull a gun out, and he's going to shoot the two fellows behind him. After that, the security guys take care of business. But what I really want you to watch is this older woman right here. She's in the brown coat there. What that shows you is this is going to show you what it looks like when someone goes into the black and stops thinking the way they're supposed to, okay? Now watch that lady there in the brown coat. So she gets underneath that pew. We really want you to do what? We want you to be getting out of there, okay? Not sitting still underneath that pew. So much like that young man Columbine, she's looking around because in her mind she knows that this is not a good place for her to be. So right here, her heart rate is starting to slowly creep up, creep up, creep up. And she knows she needs to leave. But instead, she turns around and goes right back where she was. That's that peer pressure kicking in because all of her friends there from church are back there underneath that pew. And so she goes back there. That can't be us, okay? That can't be us if that happens in here. We have to get up and we have to get out, okay? All right, next is deliberation. There's a thing called milling. Milling is exactly what we just talked about. It's kind of going into black. When we go to an accident scene, and that might be a traumatic event for that person, we see them milling around or walking around their car, maybe reaching down and picking things up off the ground. That's milling because their mind's going into black and they don't know what to do. There's a thing called gathering. It's not what we're doing here. We're gathering here for this class, but human beings love stuff, right? All of you have your phones and your beautiful clothes on and your books and your purses. We love our stuff. The problem with that is during 9/11, Amanda Ripley figured out why the people on the 40th floor live and the people on the 4th floor live. Because on the 40th floor, there's a security guard there, and he made them drill this all the time. Drill, 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 drill. We're going to practice how we're going to get out. And they got out. On the 4th floor, those people were too worried about going back and getting their stuff. And some of them went back to their desk and put their out-of-office memos on their computers, grabbed their purses, their favorite novel, their water bottle, while the whole time that building's collapsing down around them, okay? That's what gathering is. Does everybody remember when the plane crashed in the Hudson River in New York? Remember that? Captain Sully? When you saw the picture of that and they were standing out on the wings, what were they holding? They were holding their luggage. While the plane was sinking into freezing water, they're holding their luggage. Okay? That's gathering. We got to get away from that. We'll get you back your stuff, okay? We need you to get out. All right, we got to get to decisive moment. Panic will set in. I'm going to show you an example of panic, but I'm going to tell you about it now. If the shooter's over here, and we're going to go out that door right there, that gray door, are all of us going to fit through that door at the same time? No. What's going to happen to the people back here when we get up to that door and nobody's moving? What are we going to do? We're going to panic, and then we're going to start what? We're going to start pushing. And we're going to push, and we're going to push, and the people in front are going to fall, and the next thing you know, nobody can get out that door, okay? So it's going to happen, but this is what we're going to talk about while we prepare for that. We got to get to that self-preservation, okay? Just like Rick talked about. Everybody in here has somebody to go home to, right? So we got to get our mindset to that self-preservation. We're not going to let that person take us out, okay? All right, so let's talk about this. So we're in an active shooter class, but I'm going to show you a fire. The reason I'm going to show you a fire is a lot of things we just talked about are I'm going to show you examples of that. So this is called the Station Nightclub. It's in Estate, Rhode Island. And it's a small venue where they have bands come in and they play. On this night, a rock band by the name of Great White came in to play. And on this night, the stage manager thought it'd be really cool to shoot pyrotechnics off on the stage while they were playing, which is really cool. The problem is they set off outdoor pyrotechnics inside. And when I show you the video, because I have a video of it, you're going to see that the pyrotechnics quickly light the acoustic foam around the stage on fire. And I'm even going to put a clock up, because within about a minute and a half, that entire venue area was engulfed in flames, okay? While we watch the video, I want you to listen for some of the things we talked about. Listen for that panic. Watch for milling. Watch for some of these things that we talked about and pick them up. So this is how the venue looked. So as you can see, the number one dot there is the entrance hall, right? Rick talked about how he wants you to find that second exit. The problem with human beings is when we go into that entrance, usually we lock that in as our exit, and we don't think of anything else. And you're going to see when I show you that video why that's a big problem, okay? Because I want you to remember this. When you go to the mall or go to a restaurant, there's a kitchen in a restaurant. What do you think is at the back of that? There's a door back there, because they don't take trash out the front door. They take it out the back. They don't receive their shipments in the front door. They receive it in the back, okay? So remember that. When you go into a store in a mall, guess what else there is in the back? There's a back door back there. And there's a door right there that says employees only. You're allowed to go through that, I promise, okay? So always find that second door, okay? But you'll see there when I show you this that not many people think of that, okay? So let's watch the video. Maybe. Can't play the media. All right, you can't play it. Must be a codec thing. Yep. All right, let me explain the video to you. So this is what it looked like afterwards. So every one of those dots on there is someone at Paris. So what happened was the very first song that started, they shoot the pyrotechnics off. It lights the stage on fire. So there's probably 100 or so people in there. You can see how many people were in there at Paris. There was quite a few that got out. But what happened was they have all locked in their minds that front door is their exit. So they all got to that doorway. And then they jammed in there, and then what'd they do? They panicked, and they started pushing and pushing and pushing. And then they couldn't get out, because all the people got locked into that doorway and they couldn't move them, okay? And if you notice, the kitchen over there, there's one person over there, maybe was heading that way, or maybe that was just a worker. There's only 3 people at the bar, and there's an exit right there, right? So nobody thought to have that second exit in their mind to find a way out when they couldn't get out that first one. And that's why we talked to you about this. We lock that second exit in so we have another place to go, okay? All right, so how do we improve that? Well, situational awareness, we talked about that already, right? What's situational awareness again? Environment, know your surroundings, know what's going on around you, okay? We do that by mental scripting. What do I mean by that? So, as police officers, when we go out to eat somewhere, we don't like to sit with our back facing the door. It's just ingrained in our mind from the day we start training, right? So when Rick and I go out to lunch or go out to dinner, we fight over that seat, but I win because I'm older, right? But here's what happens. We take our wives out to dinner, we sit down at that table, and we find that exit that we just came in, and we face it. And then we get up and we walk around the restaurant, okay? And we find that bathroom, and we find that kitchen, and we find where windows are. And now we've mental scripted, or we practiced that building, and now we know where everything is, okay? That's our practice. We just drilled that. And I come back and I tell Rick, did you see those windows back there? Yep. You see where the kitchen is? Yep, it's right over here. And then our wives say, shut up and sit down and eat dinner. We already saw them. All right? That's what happens. And then we're ready to enjoy our night because we've practiced that. So if something kicks off and our mind goes into that red like I talked about, we're still able to function because we've already told our mind where that exit is. And now we can find it and we can get out. Okay? So we talk about that exit awareness. So if you're in a room and there's only one door, is that the only way out? Maybe not. Okay? And this is what we have to learn. How many people watched a home improvement show before? Can you kick through drywall? Yeah, you can kick through drywall, right? We can kick a hole through a wall to get over to the other room to get out. Here's a drop ceiling right here. Here's how a drop ceiling works. A drop ceiling, the only wall that goes all the way up is your firewall. Every other wall is right at the top of that drop ceiling. Can we climb up through this ceiling and drop down into another room to get out? We can. So remember that, okay? I'm not saying that'll always work, but don't just think because there's only one door, that's the only exit. Think outside the box a little bit. Calm yourself. Rick discussed that with you with the family, right? Looking at that picture in his hat. Calm yourself, okay? And then here's another way we calm ourselves. It's called focused breathing or yoga breathing or tactical breathing. There's a million names for it, but here's what it is. When we get into a stressful situation, not just active shooter, anything, we breathe in for 4 seconds, we hold our breath for 4 seconds, we breathe out for 4 seconds slowly. We do that several times, and that lowers your heart rate 30, 40 beats per minute, gets our mind functioning a little bit better, and then we work through whatever situation we're in, okay? And then we shift our emotions. Rick talked about that, but looking at his family, right? Find that emotion you need to find that gets you out of a bad situation. Whatever that emotion is. If it's fear, it's fear. If it's anger, it's anger. But find that emotion and work through it. This ain't gonna play either. All right. This is Virginia Tech. It's in Blacksburg, Virginia. Has anybody ever been there? Virginia Tech is a huge, huge university. And Blacksburg, Virginia is a small, small community. So basically, he's going to help me. Basically, the entire university is almost the whole town. So they don't have a lot of resources like you do. So on this day, up in that top left corner, your shooter went up and killed 2 students in a dorm room to create a distraction, okay? All those resources moved to that double homicide because at Virginia Tech University during this shooting, there were no locks on any classroom doors. Okay? After the shooting, the shooter went down to the post office, mailed off all of his manifestos because they love to get their 15 minutes of fame, and then he moved to this building here. It's called Norris Hall. This is where the shootings occurred on the 2nd floor. You see the big 3 wooden doors there? There were 3 sets of them, okay? Let's see if this will play after I explain it. This is Christine Anderson. She was a student in room 211, and she survived the shooting. Let's see if it'll play. If not, I'll tell you what she says. Probably won't. So let me tell you what she says. She'll tell you about her day there and about how in 211 she sat in the back right corner of that classroom. And no one really realized what was going on, but he actually goes through several classrooms first before he gets to hers. She hears the shootings, but remember I told you about normalcy bias. Didn't really click in what was going on. So when the shooter came in and started shooting, all they did was climb underneath their desks. Literally like you're sitting here, they would climb underneath those chairs and stay right there they were. The shooter went into 211 3 times. Is there an opportunity for them to leave at some point in between those? Absolutely, okay, but they didn't. They stayed there and hid underneath their desks. This is why we tell you hiding's a bad word now, because it doesn't work, okay? And here's why. So the first classroom he went into was 206. Now on this, red is students that are dead, yellow have been shot, and green is uninjured, okay? He went into 207 next. Then he went into Christine Anderson's classroom. So you can see how those blocks are lined up. That's literally how they were sitting. 3 times he went in there, okay? This is when he went into 204. You can see the green blocks on the outside. They obviously broke the windows out and got out, but the reason they did that is because the red dot by the door is a professor by the name of Leviu Labrescu, and he survived the Holocaust. So imagine what his Rolodex is like. He quickly realized that was a shooting going on, and so he barricaded that door with himself, okay? And by doing that, he did lose his life, but he saved all those students' lives because that gave them time to break those windows and get out, okay? There's a red X on 205. Why do you think that red X is there? Say it again. He didn't get in. How come? They barricaded the doorway. Absolutely they did. They pushed that teacher's desk up against that door. They laid down on the floor, put their feet against that desk, and they wouldn't let him in. And we didn't go teach them this class, but they just figured it out. They figured it out real quick that if he doesn't get in here, he can't shoot us. And this is why we tell you that that system works, okay? All right, so much like Officer Rick talked about, right? We're going to leave as soon as we can, and we're going to quickly leave, and we're always looking to leave. No matter what, that's our ultimate goal, is to leave, okay? Remember, we got to know our exits and find those exits. Always know a second one at least, and then call 911. Remember your secondary exits. Remember, I talked about doors aren't your only exit. Windows, drywall, drop ceilings. There's always an exit somewhere. Find one, okay? How do we break windows? Where do we hit a window to make it break? Who said corners? You hit the corners, okay? Because that'll make the glass shatter. It's not going to play for me, but you hit the corners. The reason we don't hit the middle is, believe it or not, glass is made to flex. That's why downtown you see those big high skyscrapers. They actually do move in the wind, okay? If they moved and that glass broke, it would shatter that glass out. We hit that corner. That's the weak part of the glass. Shatters that glass out, okay? We lock doors if we have locks. Always, always lock doors. We hit that hard corner, okay? But remember, that's still not our end game. We're still always looking to leave, no matter what. We're always looking to get out of the environment we're in, okay? We barricade that door. Barricade as best we can. Everything you have in here, barricade that door with, okay? That may not keep him out, but it'll certainly slow him down enough to give you time to do something, okay? These are some aftermarket things. Defend. It's not the most popular one, but we're going to show you how you do it. All right. So this is a fake gun. It's just like the one in here. So what happens when they come in with a gun is like this. So not too many of them are trained very well, okay? So what they do is they walk like this, like you see in the movies. Let me tell you why that's good for you. Because if this is my doorway and I'm the shooter and I walk in like this, what are you going to see first? You're going to see this. And this is what we're going to attack. Because guns like this, like what they use, because they use guns like this and not revolvers, because these are easier to load and they have a higher capacity of rounds. But the beauty of that is we can break these, and here's how. So if I'm the shooter and I'm walking in this room and you have to defend. You're going to be on that hard corner, okay? And when I come through and he's going to defend and he sees this gun, he's going to grab that gun. And you see how he pushed it away from himself, right? The reason is because when I pull this trigger, even though he's going to break this gun, that first round's going to go off. I promise you. And we don't want that round to go off into us. We want it to go into a wall or in the floor. So he pushes it away. Now what happens is, because that's not going to work up there, what happens is the way these guns work is like this. When you pull this trigger, right, there's a striker pin inside there, and it hits the end of that bullet, and that's what causes that round to go out the chamber. Then the slide on the top, that square part on the top, that slides backwards because it has to get rid of that shell casing. Once it kicks that shell casing out, down here in the handle where your bullets are, it seats another bullet up into that chamber. We're going to stop that from working. And what happens is we interrupt that from happening. 2 bullets go up into the same time, and it jams the gun, okay? Now, once we get a hold of that and break it, we never give it back because you can fix that, okay? We train our people how to fix it in case our guns jam, okay? So you never give it back. So once we have a hold of this, we push that gun to the floor or to the wall, and then the rest of my friends, all of you, are going to swarm that suspect, and we're going to take him to the ground, and then you're going to hold him down until Officer Rick and I come, right? And then we're going to give you awards and take pictures with you, and we're going to look cool in the newspaper, right? Okay. I don't think any of these videos will work. I'm hitting them every time. They're not going to work. All right, so what happens when we get here? If, God forbid, this happened here, what happens when we arrive? Okay, so our main goal when we first get here is to stop that shooter. And the reason that is because studies have shown that every 15 seconds, someone else is shot. Okay? Why is that important? Because, unfortunately, if we come through this room and I have victims, some of you down here, I have to pass you by. And that breaks our heart because that's not how we're programmed. But I have to pass you by because we have to get to that shooter and stop him so there aren't more victims in here. Now, here's how good we are at our job. Once Officer Rick and I get to that person and we stop him, we own that room. And we're going to get on the radio and we're going to tell the radio, hey, we've got him in room whatever, and we have 3 victims in the auditorium area. We got 2 victims out by the lobby. We have 1 victim over here, and we're sending a search team in. Search team's coming right behind us, and they're going to go through here, and they're the ones that are going to, like Officer Rick told you, go out that door, go, 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 go. And you're all going to go out with your hands up, and you're going to run out that door, and they're going to radio back, and we're going to send in what's called a rescue task force. And that's 2 officers and 2 medics. Each one of those medics can treat 8 people. So that's 16 kits that they have, okay? They're going to come in, and if they can put a tourniquet on you and you're going to survive, they're going to leave you there, and they're going to treat somebody else and somebody else. If they get to you and you're not going to survive unless they get you out, we're going to evacuate you out to a medic, and we're going to send another rescue task force in until we've got everybody, okay? And we go really quick, but here's what stops us from going quick. You got to follow our orders, okay? You got to follow them. And we need your help too, because when we come in here, if you're one of the people that normally in church directs people, we want you to direct people with us that day too. We want you to tell the people, get out this door, listen to the officers, get out this door. And the quicker we move you out of here, the quicker we can get through this building, okay? All right, so we talked about medical stuff, right? Where'd you put my props at? Oh, right here. So we already discussed about how some of us don't even know how the first aid kit works. Well, let me tell you how you die in a shooting. You don't die from being shot. That's in the movies. You die from losing blood. So how many of you know what this is? Anybody? This is a tourniquet, okay? And this saves many, many, many lives in the city. Every officer on the Columbus Police Department carries one. Every medic in the Columbus, city of Columbus carries these, and we use these, not just on us, we use them on victims. And you can put it on yourself, okay? And what it is really just a big Velcro strip, okay? And when we put these on, we go all the way up here by our heart. We go all the way up here by our heart because we got to stop that blood coming out of that big artery, okay? So what we do is we put this on, we pull this as tight as we can with our hand, and then you see that big stick in the front, right? We just start turning that, turn it, until that blood stops. Is it going to hurt? It is going to hurt. It's not going to hurt dead, though. It's going to hurt alive, okay? We get that blood to stop, and then we leave it on there. And we leave it on there until that trauma surgeon at the hospital takes it off. That's how we stop bleeding. If you're shot in here, this ain't going to work, right? We can't do this. That's not going to work, okay? So we have what's called packing gauze. And we keep packing into that bullet hole. And then just when you think you got enough in there, we pack some more. And it's just a pressure dressing. And we pack that hole in until that blood stops, okay? So we say that because we need more than just first aid training. You need to get stop the bleed training, okay? And they offer that in the city, and we can figure out how to get that to you, okay? But that's what we have to know. And listen, we practice these. Don't go and buy a bunch of them, put them in your first aid kit, and then the day of the shooting, you pull it out and you're reading the instructions. That's not the day to learn how to do it, okay? You got to practice with them. You got to buy a couple of them you're going to undo and you're going to use as practice. And then one day, you set up a training day like today, and everybody practices putting a tourniquet on themselves and on someone else. And that's how we get proficient up here, so when the bad day happens, we're ready to go, okay? All right, Officer Rick told you. That's the 3 words you need to remember, okay? Practice those 2. Avoid, deny, defend, okay? Questions, guys?
To Officer Rick, you said we don't negotiate with the active shooter. Is there any situation where de-escalation works? And you gave the example where the shooter is standing right here and he's pointing a gun at people like this, right? Before you attack the shooter will kill some people. So if you want to avoid anyone getting shot, can you use de-escalating techniques to talk to that person to, maybe get them to change their mind?
No. We're not going to negotiate. Okay, I'll give you an example. All right, just kind of help you understand a little bit. So what we do as police officers, have you ever seen where everybody likes to judge what we do, the police, and not knowing what we do? It's very, very unfair for us, but we're used to that. There are many situations where somebody will say, why didn't you just shoot that person or deploy a taser? Why did you have to use your gun? You ever heard that before? Yeah. Okay. In order for us to use a taser, which is less lethal force, we got to have, he heard taser, got all kinds of excited. We got to have what's called a 5-prong test. We have to have time to do that, time, distance, good amount of distance, a barrier between me and you, time, distance, barrier, lethal force backup. My backup comes over and he's got a real gun. Okay, I got a taser. So I got time, distance, barrier, lethal force backup, and is it reasonable to use a taser in this situation? Once I have all of this at that moment, now I can de-escalate. I got backup, I got a barrier between us, and I got time to do it. When a guy goes like this and pulls a gun out, do you have any of that? Does that answer your question?
I'm talking about, you guys are trying to deal with that situation. I'm talking about the church environment where we don't have a gun.
You don't,
right.
But you don't have a gun. And you have lots of people here, but you're unarmed and he is armed.
Right.
De-escalation, you have to go avoid, deny, defend. De-escalation, you don't have time. We've seen people try to do it. I'll give you an example. Like there was a school shooting in Chardon, Ohio, for example, where the football coach, he was able to talk to the student, right? So he was able to talk to the guy, and he knew the kid. He built a rapport with him, and he was able to talk the gun out of it. We don't recommend you try that, because most of the time that does not work, because you're not armed. You don't have body armor on. You need to create. There's a time to de-escalate and a time not to. And if I have time to do it and it's safe to do it, then I will do it. But I want you guys to all survive. We do not want you to de-escalate in that situation, even though it's a church environment and the Holy Spirit is everywhere. It is everywhere. But not with him it ain't. Right? Does that answer your question?
Remember we talked about what is his mindset.
Right.
At that time, their mindset is not a type of person you could talk to, right? It's most of these shooters in their mind are going to die that day. Most of them are. They have that mindset that they know this is their last day. And how do we know that? Because we see their manifestos and we read what they write. And we know that on that date they tell us, this is my last day on earth. I know that. And so you can't negotiate with someone like that because they have mentally prepared themselves to die. Okay? Any more? Yes, ma'am.
In active shooting situation, do we as a community, as a team, or just run for your life? That's my first question. Second question, do we call 911 for any situation? For instance, there was somebody sitting down here, church was closed, the person was sitting down here, she parked her car on the roadside, and then she was sitting down there. We asked her what she wants, if everything is okay. She said she's fine, and then we drove off. Should we have called 911 for that incident or what?
What was she doing?
She was just sitting down there, here on the floor, with her arms folded like this.
In this building or outside?
Just outside here.
Just outside the doors. But she's on your property. Did you want her there or no?
I didn't know what she wanted and what she was doing.
So this is the issue with churches and places of worship is we want to welcome people, right? We want to welcome people to worship with us, right? So we try. We're not going to turn anybody away unless they're a problem, unless they're a disturbance, okay? So in that situation, it could go either way. Are you okay? Do you need anything? She says, no, I'm fine, okay? But if she's causing a problem to your other parishioners, then she does have to go. You ask her to leave the property. If she says no, then you call the police. You call our non-emergency line, which is 645-4545. But if you forget that and you call 911, then that's fine. And you say, we have somebody on our property that doesn't belong here. We have asked her to leave many times. She has refused. Can you please help us out? And then we will come and remove her from your property for you and make sure she never comes back. But as your first question that you were saying is, do we just run for our lives if this happens?
Do we act as a team, or we have to run for our lives?
Here's what I want you guys to do. With the leaders of this church. Amen. You can drill this. You need to practice, like Chad talks about this all the time. You need to practice. So on the days that you have everybody here, you could make one person the bad guy. You don't need guns. You don't need fake anything. You don't need loud noises. Okay? Maybe you just have like pots and pans and you're making a lot of noise. Okay? Something like that. And that person walks around. And then you have to make a decision in the room you're in. Do I avoid, run to the exits? Do I deny, barricade? Or do I defend? And I want you to go up and wrap your arms around them and take them to the ground or just hold on to them. And you drill that over and over and over. Every room is going to be different. Is that easy drills? Very easy. Do you need any equipment to do that? Nope. And then I want you guys to practice, like if we're in a void situation, like say it's this room right here. What are we going to do with all these kids? right? You guys are the leaders. Everybody stand up. We're going this way. Let's go. Come on, kids. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. And then you'll see I have another person out in the hallway, and they're pushing them to another door. And another person's at that door, and they're pushing them to the parking lot. Can we practice this? Can you come up with this on your own? Absolutely. Do you need